Halloween 2018. Ha 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 ha.
Well, good evening, everybody. Happy Halloween. I know Halloween's not till Wednesday. Johnny and I have got something cooked up for then as well, but I thought this would be hilarious, and hopefully you find it just as hilarious as I have had a whole load of fun putting this little thing together and borrowing my son's alien mask, which I'm now going to take off because it's actually incredibly uncomfortable. Headphones off first. It's actually incredibly uncomfortable to wear that mask, but I just thought it'd be hilarious. All tangled up there, but yeah, I just thought that'd be really funny, and that you'd get a nice surprise. Looks like JL still has a flu. Yeah, well, as you can probably tell by the sounds of it, I still do a little bit. 1 second. I need to just do that. There we go. Okay. Happy Halloween, everybody. As I say, Halloween's on Wednesday. Johnny and I have got something cooked up for then for Songwriting Simplified over on his channel, which is going to be great. Loads of fun. But yeah, tonight, here we are, Sunday Night Live. I hope you like my my visuals that I've done. Have a look and take a look at the pumpkin over there. No, there. On that side. I can't even see. I can't even see which way around it is. Yeah, check out the pumpkin. I found that on a website that I use for doing all of my graphics, which is called canva.com. Go check it out if you want to do graphics for album covers, video, YouTube video thumbnails, all of that kind of stuff. Book covers, they've got everything. everything you could possibly need actually for doing any graphics, for presentations or whatever. I've used it for album covers. I used it for all of my video thumbnails, and as I say, for these backdrops as well. So it's great fun. It's great fun to get involved in doing something like that with Canva. And some of the backgrounds and some of the images that are on there are not free. They cost $1 each, you know, just like a nominal dollar. But there's an awful lot on there that is absolutely free that you can just use, and then you can overlay all sorts of fonts and that kind of stuff. So there you go. I hope you like it. Let's just see. Woodby says he thought the pumpkin was Johnny Kive Skyped in. That's hilarious. So we've got quite a lot of people in tonight, actually. I'm going to go up and take a look and see who's here. I know that people like RJ Hadler were... RJ Hagler was pretty much the first one in, with Roger Blevins as well, and Ken Moss. Those three were pretty much the first ones in, about 10 minutes early. You guys are very, very eager. Thank you. And Just Bob is here, and Kyle Jezruziak. Good to see you, Kyle. She Studios, my good dear friend Sheila. Raina over in Cologne is here. Yeah, as you can hear, my voice is still pretty much an octave lower than it should be. Ken Moss is talking about diminished chords. I'm sure we'll get into the power of diminished chords and how you can make scary music using diminished chords and augmented chords and all of that kind of stuff. Excuse me, good grief. Wow, sorry about that. That was a mixture of a sneeze and a cough. Sorry about that. As I say, Rainer is here from Cologne. And who else have we got here tonight? We have Woodbeast. He says, hello, are we all in costume? I dressed up as Dooley Stills. Sheila's saying that she likes my intro. Yeah, a little funky thing that I put together. Just as a wee disclaimer, I know the kind of weird distorted... I know the weird distorted vocal said Christerberg is pure evil, which is not true. He's only slightly short and annoying. So apologies if you're a Christerberg fan. I mean no harm or intent whatsoever. It's just a joke. Let's see. Woodby says he needs his platform shoes on. Okay. Just Bob deleted his message. Diego says WTF. Yes, I'm sure that's when you saw my alien mask. Yes, broadcasting from my studio in Area 51. Actually, this is Edinburgh, so this is Area 52. But still hilarious. Mike is here. Mike Neighbor is here. He says, holy hand grenades, Batman. I love that. Ken says, if you start singing Hello, My Baby, I'm going to lose it. That's funny. Let's see. Oh, John Anderson, you're here. Good to see you, mate. You say, sorry you're a bit late. Just in time to see your mask. Yeah, I couldn't really keep it on for very long. It was starting to slip and it was pulling down on my glasses, and it was just really, really uncomfortable. But there we go. Carl says, scrape off that mic. Yes, I will clean the mic. I'll actually have disinfectant wipes out on it later. She Studio says tissue. Yes, I should have one. I actually have some here. And I think we got to the bottom of the chat. We did indeed get to the bottom of the chat. But yeah, we've got a good few people in tonight, which is very cool. So I hope you all got my email this week about the show, and I realized that there was a mistake in that email, so I sent out a follow-up email saying, oops, there is a mistake in there, because my first email had said that the show was tomorrow night, which of course it isn't, it's tonight, so I had to correct that. So I should have spotted that before I sent it, but I didn't read it. I didn't proofread it properly, which is most unlike me. So as you can hear, I still have this strange sort of flu-like virus. I've been to the doctors. It is not flu. a lot of people say, "Hey, you've just got flu. You'll get over it." Well, yeah, this is not flu. This is another kind of virus that presents a lot of the symptoms that are fairly similar to flu, but this is not flu. So anyway, so all I'm left with now is I'm otherwise feeling fine. I just have this really annoying cough, and my voice is kind of an octave lower than it should be, which is annoying because, we are at the end of October now, and I'm in the midst of trying to work on my song for my December 10th challenge. If any of you remember that, that I started talking about, and I think I launched it like about a month ago. So if you guys are up for it and you don't know what the December 10th challenge is, basically the challenge is to write, record, mix and master and release a song on December 10th. Now that doesn't mean you have to start writing the song, recording and everything else on December 10th. It just means that on December 10th we all release a song on the same day. So that's the idea. So I'm going to put mine up on my SoundCloud, and I'll put it up on my Facebook page, the Jonny Lipsham Studios Facebook page, and I'll put it up on my other page, just in case you didn't know. I also have another page, which is my music page, which is called Jonny Lipsham Music. Yeah, I know, not very imaginative. But yeah, I'll be putting that on there and on SoundCloud, and I will send an email out about it, so you can go and you can all go and check it out, and I'll be checking out your songs too. So please do email me your links to your songs when you release them on December 10th. Why did I pick December 10th? Well, December 10th was just an arbitrary date. There is nothing special about December 10th whatsoever. I just picked that day because I thought, hey, this is how we get music made. And all too often we can kind of say, hey, I'm going to do an EP this year, or I'm going to do an album this year. And then kind of like, we don't really plan it. We don't really schedule it out. And so we end up in a situation where the year goes by and we haven't even started thinking about writing the songs, let alone actually sitting down and writing them. So I decided, hey, let's just pick a date and let's all do it. And I'm going to do it as well. And I thought, giving us 3 months to do it should be a vast amount of time. It should be loads of time for everybody to have something together. So I'm at that point now where I need to start thinking about recording vocals, and I can't do that at the moment because all of my upper register is kind of a whisper at the moment, which is no good. So, yeah. Kyle says he was watching a few of my vids yesterday. Well, that's cool. Thanks very much, mate. I appreciate that. I hope you're finding them useful and helpful. Mike says that you hope they help. That's cool. Just Bob says the knot flu is one of the most elusive and evasive strains of the knot flu out there. Sheila says, my birthday is the day before December 10th. Can I use happy birthday? Well, you could if you're doing a really wickedly creative arrangement of it. That would be quite cool. A really different and unique arrangement of it. So, I don't know. You could go crazy. You could do a reggae drum and bass thing or something. Or you could do it in the style of Scriabin, or how about style of Tchaikovsky? Something like that. Or Rachmaninoff. Whatever. Carl says, reminds everyone to like this video. Well, yeah, I know we're early on into the show, but if you find what I do really useful and helpful, and you learn a lot out of it, and you enjoy my live streams, then yeah, hit the like button. That's always appreciated. And there is the super chat as well. If you feel so inclined, do hit that and chuck over a few cents if you feel so inclined. All right, so seeing as it's Halloween, I thought, hey, why don't we talk about our most scary music production experience that we've ever had. I thought it could be quite fun for you guys to post in the chat, particular scary events that may have happened when you're music making. I have quite a few actually, but I think the scariest one was when I was at Angel Studios in London, and I was there to be involved in recording a film score, and I was playing I was playing keyboards, lots of different keyboards. I was playing a Fender Rhodes, I was playing a Juno synth and a Moog and a few other analog style synths. Plus I was also doing sound effects as well. That was the other thing I did, and I did that once all the orchestra had finished and we'd done all the score aspects of it. They hired me whilst I was there. They just said, hey, you know, we need somebody to do some sound effects. Are you up for that? And I was just like, yeah, absolutely, I'm up for that. So I stayed on for another 2 days, and we did 2 days worth of sound effects, which was great fun. And it was whilst I was doing the sound effects that this scary event happened. I was in the vocal booth, and I was in there to do some vocal sound effects. And whilst I was in there, the lights went out, and it went extremely dark. The lights went out. The screen that I was watching the cue on went out. I lost all audio, everything. It just went pitch black. And I was stuck in this vocal booth, and there'd basically been a power cut still to this day, I have no idea what happened or how it happened, why there was this power cut. But there I was stuck in this vocal booth, and it was so dark. It was crazy because, you know, all the corridor lights had gone out as well. My video link to the control room was gone. Everything gone. So I was standing there in the pitch black. And I was like, I've got to try and find a way out of here. You know, it was so dark I couldn't even see where the door was. So there I was, like, feeling the walls and trying to find my way around. And man, it was frightening because it was dark. And of course, you know, the vocal booth was very acoustically treated, so the space was dead acoustically. And so all I could hear was my heartbeat and the sound of my own breath. And it was pretty spooky. And of course, I couldn't find the door. I was just like, where the heck is the door gone? I can't find it. And if what felt like an absolute age was probably only about 6 or 7 minutes. And then the lights came back on and all the power came back up. And the video link with the control room came back. And I found myself, when everything came back on, I was on my hands and knees up against a wall trying to find the door. And so, you know, kind of like what had been scary turned out just to be really funny in the end. But at the time, it was really scary because we were right in the middle of me doing this take, and I was totally into doing these vocal sound effects when the power went out. And it was just like, it was really sudden. There was no warning or anything, and there was no indication that the power was going to go, but it just went. And so there I was. So that's my scary story from being involved in a studio session when everything just went very, very dark. Spooky. And speaking of spooky, we've got some donations here. Let's see. Kyle has donated $10. Wow, thank you very much. He says, keep up the great streams. Loenz has donated $5. John Anderson has donated 10. He says, I don't want to be left out. The green mask was worth the price. Oh, man, that is so cool. Thank you so very much. Let's see. Just Bob says, with Presence or the orchestra pack from Personas, can you set them up to record multiple string instruments at one time when MIDI recording on a keyboard? Are all the instruments separate events to record? I don't believe so. Certainly my experience with Personas Orchestra, because I was involved in testing it before it went to release, and my experience was that you couldn't map a string orchestra to like the whole keyboard. There is, however, there is a section of the PSO which is called Contemporary Strings, which is very, very cool because that does actually map the whole string section across your keyboard. So you have like violins first violins, second violins, viola, cellos, and basses all mapped out. But when you play a chord or something, it voices the chord correctly for the strings. It's very, very powerful. Considering the price point of the PSO, it's incredibly good. Now, there are obviously, far more expensive and arguably better orchestral packages out there, like East West, or there's the Vienna Symphony orchestra package out there, and then there's various native instruments orchestral packages out there as well that you can get your hands on. But the Presona Symphonic Orchestra, for the price point that it's at, it is really, really good. It's a serious competitor. I use it quite frequently. In fact, I think a lot of the Presence XT library is worth a lot more than they give it away for. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good stuff there. There's some stuff that's a little bit meh, not quite so good. Not the sample quality is not quite there, but there are some really good ones. Like as I say, with the PSO, the brass section I think is pretty darn good. The tuba in particular is extremely good, and the trumpets, the flugelhorn is very, very nice. Flugelhorn sounds pretty much like my own flugelhorn, so it sounds really, really good. The strings are pretty good. They're maybe a tiny bit brittle up top. When you're right at the extreme end up here, they're maybe a little bit brittle and a little bit shrill. But as I say, again, it's all about the price point. And they sampled members of the London Symphony Orchestra, which is great, because London Symphony Orchestra is one of the best orchestras in the world. Let's see. I think I'm missing a few things here, so I'm going to scroll back up. No, maybe I haven't. Okay. Martin Weeks is here. He has a question. Okay, I'm going into questions now, because I've told my story. If you guys have got a story, feel free to put the story in the chat as well, and I will get to your story and read that as well, because that would be pretty cool. I know we're kind of limited to 200 characters, so you're going to kind of have to either spread it out over a couple of posts or maybe just edit it down to bare essentials. Fracture storytelling is a very useful tool, especially for songwriters. So try that. Martin Weeks says, would you be able to use multi-instrument to do what Just Bob is asking? Yeah, possibly. Possibly. I've not done that, but yes, I suspect you might be able to. It's certainly worth trying it out and seeing if that works. That might not be a bad idea. To try that, I would hazard a guess it might work. Let's see. Ken Moss says, I picked up Sonivox orchestral strings as part of the Premiere pack on sale now. I'm very impressed with the sounds. Yeah, the Sonivox is really good. It's really, really good. Absolutely. John Anderson says, when you get to questions, do you have a preference when quantizing a song in Studio One? I know of 3: quantize, audio bend, and using the groove track. I know Melodyne is an option. I don't tend to quantize very much. I'll quantize if I have to, but if I can avoid doing it, then I'll avoid doing it. Because I like things to sound organic and natural and human. Now, sometimes there is a case where you do just need to tidy things up a bit because maybe the playing is a little bit inconsistent or a little bit sloppy here, a little bit sloppy there. I know sometimes my guitar playing can be pretty sloppy. My strumming is not great, really. But if I'm putting down a scratch guitar part, I could just leave it and it might be a little bit out of time, and then, you know, the real guitar player will come in and replace it and tidy it up. But it would get annoying just leaving it like that. So if it's audio, I might use Audio Bend, or I might use Melodyne. Although Melodyne Essentials that comes with Studio One is only good for monophonic sounds, monophonic audio. So it's not going to do a guitar part particularly. Excuse me. So you probably want Melodyne Editor or Melodyne Studio to be able to do any of the polyphonic editing, like for an acoustic guitar part. So yeah, I try to avoid quantizing if at all possible, because it can make things sound really, really robotic. That said, though, there is a humanized feel, humanized option in Studio One that can be quite effective. And then what I tend to do is, if I use humanize, if I quantize and then use humanize, then what I might do is I might go and, you know, kind of manually shift things about a little bit to kind of make it a little bit more natural sounding, if I still think the humanizing is not quite right. Because humanizing, basically, it's an algorithm that you know, randomizes a few elements, but it might randomize the wrong elements. It might shift a chord so that the chord ends up being a little bit out of time, which you don't want. So, you know, like an upstroke or a downstroke or something on an acoustic guitar. So maybe you want to just manually shift that particular note, or that particular upstroke or downstroke, whatever it is. You can do that pretty easily in Studio One. So if I'm going to do any quantizing at all, I prefer to do it manually, and it does take a little bit more time, but I think you get more natural and better results if you do that. If you kind of do it manually by hand, and then you're just using your ears to kind of decide, okay, this is kind of a little bit robotic, or this is a bit better. And then it's just about finding something that has a bit of ebb and flow to it. You know, not always exactly on, but not too far off either. Bob T is here. He says he's late. Yeah, you are late, but that's okay. Good to see you, though. Just Bob says, okay, thanks. That helps a lot. What was the section again for PreSonus Orchestra? PreSonus Orchestra is an add-on that you purchase from the PreSonus shop. Once you have that, there's a section in it called, what's it called? Contemporary Strings. In fact, I can show you. Let me go over to this screen here and go into the Studio One and get my mouse back over here. And I think I might even be able to show you. So I need the Presence XT instrument, and I'm going to bring that in to Studio One here. And once you've got it in, you go up to the default tab here. And once you have the PreSonus Symphonic Orchestra, you get a couple of things. You get the PSO Classic Orchestra, and this is where you'd find brass, choir, percussion, strings, woodwinds, and single articulation, where you have all the sections of the orchestra, but within each one you have let's say piccolo trumpet legato, piccolo trumpet special. So there's like single articulations that are mapped out across the keyboard, and you get some instruments here that you don't get in the main orchestra, like alto flute, for example, or bass flute. The alto flute absolutely sounds gorgeous, by the way. So yeah, so that's the classic orchestra. But if you want the real, you know, just basically really gorgeous, luscious sounding strings, you go to PSO Contemporary Strings here. And then the one that's mapped out across the whole keyboard is this one here. It's called Big String Section. And then you've got some articulations for that. So you can have tremolo, sustain, staccato, a special one, and then pizzicato. The sustain one is basically legato, fundamentally. I don't know how well this is going to work, but let me let me just power up my extremely ancient keyboard. This guy over here is 25 years old, and it still works. The only thing that doesn't work is the little, it's got a little floppy disk drive here, which of course, you know, back in the day, those 1/4-inch floppy disk drives were fantastic. Sorry, 3.5-inch floppy disk drives were fantastic, but it doesn't work anymore. So the sound that you can hear, I don't know if you can hear it, I don't know if the mic will pick it up. That high pitch kind of wing is the hard drive just spinning because it doesn't do anything anymore. So if I was to select that, it takes a second or two to load up because it's 150 megabytes worth of sound. And if I arm it like that, let me just check something over here. Oh, ow. Okay, make sure that's okay. Good. I wanted to make sure that transpose wasn't on the keyboard by default, because sometimes it does that. It just transposes. It's getting old. So this just sounds lovely. And we're starting to get lots of crackles, so I need to reduce this down. Let's try that. Yeah, we're getting lots of crackles there. I think I'm making my poor CPU. I'm making my poor computer struggle there. But yeah, it sounds absolutely gorgeous. It's not going to come across very well here because it's making my CPU crackle like crazy. And I think that's to do with my graphics card more than anything else. Maybe if I close that, maybe that will help free it up a bit. Let's see. Does sound really, really lovely. So there you go. I'm going to remove track and instrument. Alright, so I hope that helps answer that question. I'm going to go back to this view. Sorry about all the crackles and all of that. Mike says I have to go. My wife made monkey bread, and that's more important. Cool, monkey bread is good. Go and enjoy. Old school funk and soul is here. Nice string setting. Yeah, it is. It's gorgeous. It's really, really nice. If you get the chance to get some money together and go and get it, it's less than $100, so it's very well worth getting. As I say, I was involved in testing it, and it was great. What's PC specs? It's Fingermix here. Oh yes, we did. We chatted on Facebook. Yes, that's cool. Yeah, I've only got a quad-core i5 computer. It's meant to be 3.2 gigahertz processor, but I've overclocked it to about 3.8. And I've only got 8 gigs of RAM. And I'm using the internal Intel graphics card, the integrated graphics card to do this. And to do this, I'm running OBS and 2 screens. So yeah, it struggles a bit. I think it's the graphics card that's given me the crackles, to be honest, because I don't think the graphics card is powerful enough to be able to do what we're wanting to do. So there you go. Diego says, what VSTi do you have? What VSTi do I have? Well, what I was using there was the stock PreSonus Presence XT instrument. But yeah, there's Impact. Excuse me. There's Impact, there's Mai Tai, there's Mojito. I have to admit, I've not really used Mojito. I don't think ever. Apart from testing. I think that's the only time I've ever used Mojito. And then I've got the virtual guitar Sparkle, which is very cool, by the way. Let's see, what else do I have? I have Contact 5 as well, the Contact 5 player, which I got years ago when I was a Cubase guy, and I just kept my license to it. And when I switched to Studio One in 2013, and I got Studio One 2.5, I think it was at that time, and I just brought Contact 5 into Studio One, and I've been using it ever since. I think there was a time when Studio One actually came with Contact 5. And I think maybe it would have been maybe before 2.6 that they dropped that integration. So if you were a new purchaser of Studio One 2.6, you would not get Contact 5 with it. But if you if you'd purchased an earlier version, you would still have it. And I still have it, and it still works. It worked in all versions of 3, and here we are in version 4.1, I think we are. And it works fine. I use it quite a bit. But you only get the basic stuff. Let's see. John Anderson says, thanks, JL. I've been using the bend markers and audio bend tool manually for guitar and bass. It seems to still keep the correct feel, but lets me clean up if something is ahead or behind the beat. Yeah, that's a great way to do it. That is a great way to do it. Oh, the strings is a paid add-on. Yes, the Presonus Symphonic Orchestra is a paid-for add-on that you can get from the Presonus shop, and it gives you the whole orchestra plus a choir. I have a whole video series on it that you can go check out. And as I say, you get all sections of the orchestra and a choir, and you get quite a lot of key switch articulations for each of the sections of the orchestra with each sample pack. And you get all of that for about $100-ish. They may have put the price up now, but certainly I think when it was launched, it was about $100. Did I say Contact or the Contact player? I thought the player only works for a few minutes and then stops. Yeah, well, I have the Contact 5 player, and it has never stopped at any time for me. It just works. The only thing with the Contact 5 player is you don't get all of the instruments. You get a select few instruments. You don't get all the drum kits. You get 2 drum kits. You get the 1960s drum set, and then you get a funk drum set as well, and that's all you get. And you get limited keyboards and a few limited guitar sounds, and that's about it. There's no horn section, there's no nothing, none of that kind of stuff. As I say, the 1960s drum set is really nice. It's a Ludwig 1963 drum set, which is extremely nice. I had one. I literally had a Ludwig 1964, I think it was, in the 4-piece Buddy Rich style setup, because it was modeled after Buddy Rich's Ludwig drum set when he was a Ludwig endorsee. Yeah, $99.99. There you go. Deirdre says, I'm trying to get the instrument not to have the same notes repetitive, but to graduate into a smooth passage. I know looking is tedious, but I need advice. Trying to get the instruments not to have the same notes repetitive. I'm not quite sure what you mean by the same notes repetitive. But yes, Ken, you're exactly right. It's $99.99 for the PSO. Martin says, just listen to the demos for the PSO, and wow, most likely worth every penny. How would you rate it compared to Contact? Well, I don't have the Contact orchestral elements, so I can't really compare it. Certainly not fairly. That said, I can compare it to other orchestral libraries because I don't have them, but I have used them. You know, I've worked with film composers quite a lot. One of my close friends is a film composer who works very closely with David Arnold, who did all the scores for the Lord of the Rings films. And my friend did some of the orchestrations for that. In fact, he did quite a lot of the orchestrations. And he's recently been working with Paul Weller for a series of concerts with his band plus orchestra. So those are going to be really fantastic. And so he's done all of the orchestrations and everything else, and he's going to be on tour with Paul and conducting the orchestra and all of that. So he's a terrific guy, and I've worked with him quite a lot, doing different things for him for some of the scores that he's been involved with. And so I've seen a lot of the libraries that he has, the East West and all of that I've talked about. I've seen those in action. They sound incredible. They sound utterly mind-blowing. And they do make the PSO sound cheap comparatively. But that's because, you know, it's in a different league. I mean, you know, we're talking, you know, I don't know, Exeter United playing a soccer match against Arsenal. You know, they're in different leagues. Exeter are very, very good in their league. Arsenal are extremely good in their league. But you put the two together, it's, you know, Arsenal are going to win with their eyes closed. So there you go, little soccer analogy for you. Just Bob with the $10 donation. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate it. And he says, that helps a lot. I've been trying to find that type of sound for a week or so. Just recently purchased the Presonus Orchestra. Good man. Excellent. It's a shame Presonus don't give me any commission. But anyway. Oh, Jonny is asking me on Facebook if I have my live stream. And I do have my live stream. Can somebody... I don't have Facebook open, because if I have Facebook open, I will likely crash my laptop. Could somebody go on to Facebook and send Jonny Guy the link to my live stream? Because I think he'd quite like to come on and get involved. Yeah, if somebody could go and do that, I'd appreciate that. Just maybe drop him a Facebook PM. Old School for Console says, why and when did you move to Studio One? How long were you a Cubase user? That's a great question. I switched in 2013 to Studio One 2.5, and I had used Cubase since Cubase VST. There you go. So around about 1989, 1990, I was using Cubase. Before Cubase was born, Steinberg had software called Pro 24, and before that they had Pro 16, and they also had Pro 12, I think, as well. And I used all of those as well. And for a wee while, I was a beta tester for Steinberg, testing Cubase for a little while. And yes, I switched in 2013, and the reason why I switched was because Cubase was becoming monstrously unstable. And that's not to do with my computer that I had at the time. It was definitely down to Cubase just... well, I mean, Cubase is just kind of... See, the way they do upgrades and updates to Cubase is that they add the new code to the existing code. And they've done that historically for, 30 years. So... there's like 30 years worth of legacy code buried inside Cubase. So it's just become somewhat obese. And therefore, with the obesity has come some instability. And it just, I couldn't rely upon it to be able to get work done day to day. As a professional music producer, composer, arranger, mix engineer, all the things that I do. And so that's why I switched. And I was just like, this is getting ridiculous. I need to find another piece of software that's going to that's going to be easy for me to get into right away, quick to learn, so that I'm not held back having to learn a new DAW whilst working. I didn't like that idea, and I know a lot of people don't switch DAWs at all because they don't like that idea. However, when I discovered Studio One, my immediate first impression of it was, wow, this is a piece of software that is quick and easy to learn, and it's extremely intuitive. So I thought, I have to try this out. So I got the demo, because I was just like, yeah, I'm going to play it safe. I'm just going to get the demo of Studio One Professional. And I knew that after the 30 days were up, it would revert to Studio One Prime, the free version, or Studio One Free it was at the time. It wasn't called Prime. So I knew it would revert to the free version at the time, and I was just like, that's fine, you know. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. You know, if I don't get on with it, it's fine. I can just carry on with Cubase until I can find something else. And I flirted with Pro Tools a little bit, but I found Pro Tools incredibly clunky. You know, just to get a simple task done, you have to do a dozen mouse clicks, and I was just like, nah, this is just, it's not intuitive at all. You have to know how Pro Tools works to get the best out of it. So if you're brand new into Pro Tools, it's going to take you a lot longer to get good at it. Because you have to learn how it works. You know, a lot of stuff you have to do, like if you create an auxiliary channel, you have to connect whatever you're sending to that auxiliary channel to that channel, and then the return and all of that. You have to connect all of that stuff up, which is a few mouse clicks. In Studio One, you just select the channel, right click, and choose add a bus for selected channels. Job done. And there it is, all set up. And it's the same with effects channels. Effects channels are fantastic in Studio One. You know, just being able to grab an effect like the Verb Suite Classic from Slate, you know, you just drag it to the send and it's done. So it's just like all of those things were just like, right, I'm away. I found it. I found the answer. So there you go. That's my story. 2013. I switched to Presonus, and the rest is kind of history, really. And the difference I found fundamentally, and this is kind of aside from the DAW aspect of it, the thing that I found immediately fantastic was just how approachable the guys at Presonus are. They're incredibly approachable. And I didn't have that experience with Steinberg at all. I mean, even as a tester for Steinberg, they were not very approachable. You know, I couldn't make contact with anybody senior, for example, or, you know, I couldn't really reach out to the development team. You know, there was always kind of like several steps in the chain you had to go to. And, you know, that's not the case with Presonus. I know a lot of the senior guys that run Presonus very well. And, you know, they've, over the last several years, have become actually really good friends of mine. So, and that would never have happened with Steinberg. So, you know, the relationship that I now have with Presonus is amazing. It's unique. It's great. I love it. I love the company. I love the software, and I'm going to get off my fanboy stool right now. It's great. So that's kind of why I switched. And Johnny Gibe is in the house, and he says boo. Or should I say, he says boo. I just had to do that. Hey Johnny, good to see you, buddy. Bobby Booth says orchestras are okay, but right now I see no need to get into it. Yeah, well, you know, if it's not really in your genre, you know, if what you're involved with musically is, you know, you're not going to need an orchestra, then don't get it. You don't have to. You know, if you're into the heavier side of rock, you're not going to need an orchestra necessarily, unless you're going to do a Bond theme, for example, or something really big and epic. Then yeah, maybe. Or maybe you just need to reach out to somebody that is, you know, that has skills in orchestral arranging, who can do all of that side of it for you, and you can kind of focus on, you know, kind of like all the rock side of it, the guitars, the bass, the drums, and the vocals, and all of that kind of stuff, and then you can hand over the orchestral side of it to somebody else, and they can do all your orchestral arranging for you. That works, and there are people out there, you're looking at one of them, who can kind of do that stuff. So yeah, if you don't need it, don't get it, is what I would say. Jonny says, that what got me, PreSonus attitude. Yeah, absolutely. PreSonus are a really humble bunch of people. And that made a very, very quick impression upon me, is that here is a professional audio hardware and software company, and just somebody who has literally just become a customer can reach out to somebody senior in the sales department, and they'll hook you up with whatever you need to fix a particular scenario or a particular situation. They pitch in. It's great. I just wish a lot of other companies would do the same, would follow that example. Just Bob says, PreSonus seems to have taken arrogance and pretentiousness out the equation. Learn together to make it work for everybody. Absolutely. Well, here's the thing: the PreSonus software guys over in Hamburg, a lot of the things that go into Studio One are as the result of feature requests that are made over at answers.presonus.com. If there's something that you think that Studio One doesn't have, that it should have, in your opinion, go make a request over there, and then campaign for that request. Once you've posted your request over at answers.presonus.com, then campaign for votes for it. Because if it gets a lot of votes, there's a much better chance that the development team will go, actually, this is something that the folks want, but we also think it's a good idea. Especially if it is really genuinely a really great idea, a really great feature that would improve everybody's workflow and make things great for everybody. If you have an idea like that, go get that on answers.presonus.com as a feature request, and then campaign for votes for it. And you never know, it might get added to a version of Studio One. I've put in feature requests a few times, and they've got picked up and they've been added. So, it can happen. It certainly can happen. Let's see. Martin says, I find the elements of an orchestra are really nice to have for a lot of different genres. Timpani roll here, quiet strings or horns here and there. Yep, definitely. Definitely. And certainly there's an element of psychology about this. For example, maybe 30 or 40 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer, but certainly 40 or so years ago, there was this psychology that, excuse me, that in your chorus, having a high strings counter melody over the top, kind of above, sitting above your vocal in terms of kind of range and register, over the top of your vocal, can add extra emotional weight to your chorus. So let's say you're writing let's say your song is a big epic ballad, something like, I don't know, let's say you are the songwriter for Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You, something like that. Something big and power ballad, maybe. That final chorus, you could have a high strings counter melody over the top, on top of the vocal, and it will add extra character. It will add extra emotion to that song. It's a psychological thing, and a lot of arrangers, I mean, even still today, a lot of arrangers, go and check out anything by Paloma Faith, and you'll see kind of what I mean, where a lot of organic ideas like strings and that kind of stuff are brought in to add emotional weight to lyrical content. Definitely. Strings can definitely do that. I need to scroll back up because I'm missing some of the chat. Old School Funk and Soul says, I want to get into scoring for film. Suggestions. It's pretty hard to get into. I'll tell you that much. I don't personally score for, big budget films. My friend does. My friend Stu does. As I say, he's done orchestrations for the Lord of the Rings films. And I've kind of been involved in some aspects of performing some of those. But I'm not in that league for arranging or for orchestrating or even composing film score. But I do music for student films. There are several universities here in Edinburgh, and one of them has a very, very good film course, film and television course. And so reasonably regularly, I get students approaching me to do a score for their final film projects. So I've done a few of those. I've done a couple of World War II style films like that, and I've done a couple of sci-fi films. I mean, these tend to be short. They're like 20-minute short films. And I because they're students, it's going to be low budget, so I don't get really a whole lot out of it other than I get to improve my film score chops, and I'm beginning to build a reputation with students to the point where they go back to their university, to their tutors, and they tell their tutors who wrote their film score. And so I now get recommended by the university directly. They say, hey, if you want somebody to score your film, go talk to Jonny Lipsham. So I've built that reputation up now, but it started with, just like a couple of students who I kind of met by chance, really, on freshers fairs, that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of how, that was my route into it, working with students. And then, the university sends students to me now, which is great. Will I, write a score for a blockbuster film? Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I have contacts at that side of the music industry, that level. I have contacts. I have friends, as I say, that are involved in that. But I don't know. I'm not entirely sure whether I would, get that chance. But you never know. Excuse me, I need to have a swig of tea. And I'm also going to scroll down the chat. Martin says, have you had a chance to do any noodling with the Studio One splice thing? No, I have not. I've been a little bit too busy lately to do anything with Splice, because I am busy mixing albums at the moment. I have 3 on the go at the moment. 3, 2 are 12-song records and 1 is a 8-song record. So I have a lot of songs to mix at the moment, and they are all 3 completely different styles, completely different kinds of records as well. So I'm pretty busy mixing at the moment, to be honest. Everybody starts somewhere. I was playing Giacchino on the radio when he just wrote for video games. Oh, cool. Okay. Sheila reveals this very interesting fact about her family. She says, my son, he's a professional wrestler. That's awesome. I would not last 10 seconds in a wrestling ring. That's for sure. And you guys are kind of talking amongst yourselves as well. Jonny says, I'm working with Splice right now, trying to get the bugs out. Awesome. Yeah, Splice has a pretty good reputation with a lot of different DAW users. Pro Tools guys, Logic guys, they use that kind of platform quite a lot. I have to say, until Personas kind of started talking about this whole Splice thing, I'd never heard of Splice, to be honest. And then it came up, and I was just like, oh, hooray! Here's another option for not only backing up your work, but here's another option whereby you can collaborate. I mean, Dropbox is fantastic. I've been using Dropbox since it was created for file sharing, and it works great for me. Getting songs to and from clients works really, really well. So I'd imagine that Splice would be just as good, if maybe not better in some respects. But a lot of the guys that I work with, guys and girls, artists that I work with, not all of them are Studio One users. I think my last artist I was working with was a Studio One artist user, which is great. That kind of made things a lot easier, because then I could troubleshoot issues that he was having as Studio One artist, as well as work on his record. And I did a lot of production on that as well. It was a sort of EDM house dance kind of record, but it had elements of funk in it as well. So I played some Fender Rhodes, I did some drum programming. He did quite a lot of guitar playing. I did a little bit here and there. So yeah, he's a Studio One artist guy. Mike says, I've been using Splice samples for about 3 years. Cool. Yeah, I had heard actually that that you can share samples and stuff on there, which is very cool. I could imagine that sample libraries would be very cool. Martin says, hey JG, might that be your ticket to sponsorship opportunity? Splice would be an awesome sponsor for you. Yeah, you never know. Maybe. Maybe. Okay, I think we've got to the bottom of the chat. But seeing as oh, I forgot to mention right at the start of the show actually that our summertime has officially ended at 2 o'clock this morning, so our clocks went back. So normally I'd be starting my show at midnight my time, which would be 6 o'clock Central Time. But because our clock's gone back, I started at 11 p.m. So I started nice and early. So I can go maybe a few minutes longer if you guys are up for that. If you are not up for that, that's fine. We can end the show kind of here if you guys want, or if you guys have got more questions, then great, get them into the chat, and that would be cool. That'd be cool. Does it say Liverpool? Bobby Booth says, I have Splice, been thinking about dropping. I only mix songs for now, really don't see any use for it. Yep. Well, you never know when you need to use it. It's one of those services where you never know where you might need to use it. I mean, if I didn't do a whole ton of file sharing with Dropbox, and I have Dropbox for Business, so it's effectively, Dropbox for me is effectively a 2 terabyte hard drive, virtually. And I can share access to that hard drive with clients. Jonny and I have a folder in Dropbox that we share, which is great for when, for example, in the middle of one of his live streams, I just decided I really quite like this demo song that he'd built, and I decided to put some Hammond organ on it. So I just sent him the track, and live on the live stream he was doing, he brought it into Studio One. So collaborative ideas like that can work really well with Dropbox, providing you've both got a really fast connection, which he and I now have. So actually, if Jonny and I were to do something like that again, it would be even more immediate now, because I could send something and it would be there almost instantly now. Whereas before it'd take maybe a minute or two, but now it would be pretty much instant. So that would work. Yes. Yeah, Finger Mix. It is midnight here in the UK. Yeah, just turned. Normally I would be starting at midnight, but with our time going back an hour, I can start at 11. But I'm aware that summertime will be ending for you guys in the States soon as well. So this may only happen for a week or two. Yeah, just Bob, you were actually there in Jonny's studio whilst I was doing that. That was totally awesome. It was one of the best shows I think that Jonny's done, I think. What is my ISP? My ISP is EE. And what speed connection? I have 77.5 download and 19 upload. That's megs per second. So there you go. So it's pretty quick. I mean, I could have had a faster line put in, which would have cost a lot more money. Would have cost about 70-80 pounds per month, but that would have given me 400 download and 125 upload. And I thought, you know what, that's just stupid fast. That's insane. I didn't really fancy paying out that much money, because basically what I have now is a lot faster than what I used to have. If you go back through my archive, for those of you that are relatively new to my shows, if you go back through my archive to before July and take a look at my live streams before July, excuse me, and compare it to now, compare it to this show in terms of quality of audio and picture, you'll see exactly what I mean. Because my previous internet speed would have been, I think I had 5 megs down and I think about 600 kilobytes per second upload. So I couldn't actually use OBS to stream. It wouldn't work because the internet upload connection was just not fast enough. So I used Google Hangouts on air for the longest time, which was okay. But looking back on my archive now, comparing, a show since I've been in this house to my previous shows, I'm just like, man, the difference is just ridiculous. Which I'm very happy with. Didn't you have dial-up? No, I didn't have dial-up. It was broadband, but it was just pathetic broadband. Jonny says that mine is faster than his. Yeah, it is now, but yeah, a while back it wasn't. Martin says, speaking of new stuff, how's it going at the new house? Now you've had time to settle in and get used to everything. Yeah, everything's cool. My wife has her office upstairs, and one of my clients, actually, he not only paid me for the job, which he did, he paid me very generously for doing his record, but he said, would you like a computer? I said, sure. And I was thinking, yeah, it's just going to be a cheap and nasty computer that he just doesn't want. He just wants to get rid of. No, this was this was a barely 18-month-old computer, which has Windows 10 Ultimate on it, which is it's the business version of Windows 10. And so my wife has all of that, and it has the full Office 2018 suite on it. Microsoft Office 2018 suite is all on there. It has all of the latest business applications for Windows 10 and everything. And when she powers up that computer, it's ready to go and started in about 7 or 8 seconds. And likewise, when she powers down, it powers down in about 4. So it's a pretty super smart computer. And this was just given to me by my client for free. And I thought, I need to look this computer up. So I looked it up to kind of like see, hey, what's it worth? For insurance purposes, because, we needed to add it to house content insurance, and so when I added it to the house insurance content, I looked it up and it's just like, oh my gosh, this was not a cheap computer. I mean, we're talking like, you know, £800-900, which is, I think, probably $1,200-1,300, something like that. And I was just like, wow. Not only did he pay me in full, but he gave me this computer. And as part of that, he says, right, we're going out. And it's just like, oh, okay. Where are we going? He said, don't worry about that. That's fine. The limousine will pick you up. Oh, okay. Limousine comes along and picks me up, and I get a ride in a limousine. And we only went to pretty much the most expensive and poshest restaurant in the whole of Edinburgh. It might even be the poshest restaurant in the whole of Scotland. And we went there, and I had some of the best food I think I've ever eaten in my entire life. And we shared a magnum of Veuve Clicquot champagne. It was a vintage, which is probably about £200 for the bottle. It was crazy. So there you go. So she has her office upstairs with that free computer, which is ridiculous. And then my kids have, when I say upstairs, it's basically a conversion, an attic conversion. So she has her office up there, and right next door to them is the kids' bedroom. And there's a shower room up there as well. And yeah, everything is great. I'm gonna have to. I think I did a studio tour. I think I did like I did it live because I thought, hey, I can just, if I do it live, it uploads and that's it. I don't have to spend ages editing it. So I did a studio tour. So if you've not seen my studio, go check that out on my channel. Did that kind of early on in July, so go check that out. But maybe I should do an actual tour of the whole house, and you get to see a bit of my house, and maybe my wife and kids will make an appearance. So there we go. So we are at about 1:15. Yeah, about 1/4 midnight. So about 7:15. Just Bob said, oh, he's talking to Jonny Guy. And he says, I wasn't able to re-ask my orchestra question on Friday since I was driving. But JL was able to answer it tonight. Cool. D says, Jonny Guy, didn't you and Jonny Lipsham do the show together on YouTube first? Yes. Jonny and I did meet online. We met through the Persona Studio 1 Facebook group way back in 2014, I think. Maybe the end of 2013, maybe I think it was that maybe we met. And Jonny is well established. Jonny has been on YouTube for, oh, it must be nearly 10 years, Jonny, that you've been on YouTube. As I say, I kind of discovered Studio One kind of by a mixture of watching Jonny's channel. I stumbled upon Jonny's channel, which is how we kind of first met. I left a comment on one of his videos, and he replied to me very quickly, actually. And then I found him in the Persona Studio One Facebook group, and we connected that way, which is very, very cool. And Joe Gilder had also just switched to Studio One from Pro Tools, so I was watching his videos, and then he did a seminar where he talked about why he switched from Pro Tools, and that kind of helped push me a little bit further in the direction of switching from Cubase to Studio One. So Jonny was pretty instrumental in getting me started in Studio One. Yeah, 10 years. Yes, I thought that was right. Bobby Beers says, I'm going to upgrade my internet the first of the year, getting tired of waiting 3 hours for a 1 GB download. Oh, Bobby, I absolutely empathize with you. I can remember when I downloaded Studio One version 3 when version 3 launched. And that was in my old house with my old, 5 megs per second download speed. And sometimes that would drop down to like 1 meg per second sometimes. I can remember that it took to get all of the libraries and everything else, all the presence library and everything else downloaded and installed on my computer. The whole thing from start to finish took, I think, 11.5 hours. So I totally get, what it is like when, you have to wait absolutely ages for something to download or something to upload. Like, when I was making videos, and in fact, when I did my Persona's Symphonic Orchestra series, that was in my old house as well. And I would make the video, which would be, 7-8 minutes long, sometimes a little bit longer. And I mean, I think some of those actually run for like 20-30 minutes. And it would then take me another 30-40 minutes to edit it and tidy it up and, put all the fades in and everything else and the intro and outro and everything else. And then I'd upload it to YouTube and it would take about 4 or 5 hours to upload. And that's a 30-minute video. It would take 5 hours to upload to YouTube. So I couldn't get anything done quickly. Whereas now, I do a 30-minute video here, and it takes about 3 minutes to upload to YouTube. So it's a lot faster. So I totally empathize with you. I think we're pretty much going to wrap it up there, I think. Yeah, Mike says, I couldn't imagine the internet speeds that slow. I'd freak out. Yeah, I pretty much would just... I got to the point where if I didn't walk away and do something else, I would freak out and go crazy. So that's what I did. All right, so we are on about nearly 20 past the hour. And it's getting late, so I think we will call it a night there. And I will say a very big thank you very much, everybody, for coming out. And I hope you were entertained. And Jonny, you missed this. Let me show you. When I started the show, I had this on. If you get the chance to rewind, Jonny, go take a look at the beginning. And this was entertaining. And I had a bit of a joke at Christaberg's expense, but it's Halloween, that's what I do at Halloween. I have a joke at the expense of guys like that, but it is just a joke. I'm not being at all serious. So I'm going to call it a night there, folks. Bobby says I missed his donation. Oh, did I? Bobby, I apologize. And you're right, I didn't see it, but thank you very much for your donation. I really appreciate everybody's donations actually tonight. You guys have been amazing. I really am extremely grateful for everything, for all of your support, and for you guys watching my videos, subscribing to my email list, and all of that. Really appreciate it very, very much. Yeah, Jonny says, oh my, yes, I was wearing that. That's my son's mask. He has a full alien outfit. And that was the mask that came with that. And I said to Sam, I asked him, I said, could I borrow it? He goes, what for? And I said, I want to wear it at the start of my show. And he just like, big grin appeared on his face. And he said, oh, Daddy, that would be hilarious. So I said, okay, I'll wear it. So that was for Sam. Sam put me up to that. But there it is. So let's see. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming out. And I will see you all. Sorry, I'm just trying to set up the ending and it's not working for me. I will see you all on Wednesday at Songwriting Simplified with Jonny Gibe over on his YouTube channel, and it will actually be Halloween. So Jonny and I have something hilarious and scary lined up for you guys. So see you over then. at that time, and I'm going to go and stop speaking now, because otherwise tomorrow I'll be like, well, I'll have nothing. All right, folks, good night. See you soon.
Halloween 2018. Ha!